Hey everybody, thank you all for watching my video today. Now recently the Phoenix Suns endured one of the biggest playoff collapses in NBA history. They came into the postseason as the clear-cut number one seed in the West. They had one of the 25 best regular seasons of all time, winning near over 60 games during the regular season. But then they struggled to put the 8 seed Pelicans away in the first round before moving on to round 2 and being defeated in 7 games by the 4 seed Mavericks in a huge upset. The Mavs absolutely decimated them in that game 7, beating them by almost 50 points. It was really a sad sight to see. Chris Paul and Devin Booker have been being slandered a ton for their, let's be frank, huge choke jobs in the series and especially in that game. There's been discussion around DeAndre Ayton's future with the team and whether or not he'll be brought back. Stuff like Patrick Beverley going on First Take and making fun of the team. Meanwhile, he's been out of the playoffs for the past 3 weeks. But all kinds of crazy news stories. A lot of people have been talking about the Suns over the past few days, but people are kind of letting the story of this Mavericks team kind of fall to the wayside. And, they're going to be playing against the Warriors shortly after I'm done wrapping up this video, really. And, they're not going to be favored in that series either, just like how they weren't favored against the Suns. And I actually think the Warriors will win. I'm going to stick with the talent there. I think the Warriors are going to right the wrong the Suns had and eliminate the Mavs. But that doesn't mean the Mavs don't deserve the spotlight because this is a team that I've overlooked really all season. And whether it was coming into the year, I didn't think they'd be a top 5 seed. I thought once Luka, he missed a few games during that Utah series. I thought Utah without Luka, they were the better team. But guys like Brunson, from where you see the Wildcats banner in the background, one of my favorite Villanova players of all time. I never saw him getting to this level in the NBA, but now he is. He's going to get a huge payday. But it was guys like him, Spencer Dinwiddie, showing up big time to keep the Mavericks alive in that playoff series. And then when Luka came back, they were able to close out that series, move on to the series against Phoenix, where Luka just went absolutely berserk, of course, especially in that 7th game. And we've seen Luka Doncic become an absolute star in the playoffs over the past few years. He was already a star coming into this season, but now that we're nearing the end of the season, he might really be a top 5 player in the NBA at this point. And, his playoff performance this year, he's averaging 30 points again. He's averaged over 30 points per game for his playoff career as a whole over the first 3 playoff runs he's had. Of course, this is the longest playoff run of his career after bowing out in the first round the previous 2 seasons. And he's only 23. He's only been in the league for 4 years. He's got plenty of time to keep growing. And if he's able to make the NBA Finals this season at age 23, that's stuff that guys like LeBron were doing, and Magic Johnson, and maybe Kareem with the Bucks. There's very few players who have been able to reach that stage so early in their career. Kevin Durant is another that springs to mind. He made the Finals in 2011, but that just shows you that Luka is in elite company, and I think this playoff run, even if he loses to Golden State, is huge for his career going forward. I do think the Mavs, if they do lose to the Warriors, should be a little worried about the fact that they might not have the talent to compete with every top tier team in the Western Conference, even after they just beat the Suns. But nonetheless, this current iteration of the Mavericks keeps surprising, at least me, and I feel like a lot of other people who might not be Mavericks fans. They keep surprising you. And I think that's the theme of everybody else on this Mavs team besides Luka Doncic. And it starts with the head coach, Jason Kidd, who I was on Twitter absolutely not real. I wasn't going out of my way to kill the hire, but I'm sure I had a tweet or two saying I didn't understand how Jason Kidd was getting another head coaching job. We saw it end weird after 1 year with the Nets. And then we saw how much better the Bucks got instantly as soon as they replaced him with Mike Budenholzer. The Bucks were mediocre for years, even with Giannis and Chris Middleton. Coach Bud comes in, and within 2 or 3 seasons, I believe, they're the NBA champions. Now, Jason Kidd, what he did after he was fired by the Bucks, goes to the Lakers. He's an assistant on that Lakers title team in the bubble with Frank Vogel. He was there for a couple years. Then he goes and becomes the Mavs head coach in the offseason. He was also being courted by Portland and Boston. And what Jason Kidd has done to this Mavs team, the coaching job, and Rick Carlisle, the former Mavs coach, an icon in Dallas. I mean, he won an NBA championship, made another finals. Oh, actually, he wasn't the coach in 2006, but nonetheless had huge success with the Mavs winning the NBA championship. He was there for over a decade, and it was big shoes to fill for Jason Kidd. But Jason Kidd, of course, played for Rick Carlisle for that Mavs 2011 team, so he had roots with Mark Cuban and the organization. But it just felt to me at the time like it was just, we're hiring this guy because I like Mark Cuban, I'm hiring this guy because I like him. But he just failed big time with the Bucks, and before last offseason, I wasn't hearing a lot of buzz for him to return to the head coaching job, and I wasn't expecting a lot from him. And that here he is. He revamps this Mavericks defense. The Mavs haven't been a good defensive team for some time. He's just getting these guys to play super well. He seems more measured as a coach. I don't know if that maybe I don't know if that's really something you can dissect necessarily, but I feel like when I watch Mavs games occasionally and he's talking at these post game preferences or you'll see videos of him coaching, he seems just calmer, more confident, and now he's just coaching the hell out of this Mavs team. They just beat a 65 win team in his first year as the Mavs coach, and he's got all these role players similar to Kidd that people might not have thought would be at this level. And that starts with Brunson, as I mentioned, who coming in this year, we were talking about, is Brunson going to get the $60 million extension from the Mavs, or would they try to parlay him into a bigger star? Not only is he going to get that extension, he's going to get a lot more money than 60 or 80 million, whatever they were talking about. He might be an $100 million player after what he did all season long, but especially in that postseason series against Utah. He's killed it all playoffs, and he's really turned into a real point guard. Because Luka Doncic, he's the point guard, he facilitates the offense. But Jalen Brunson, he brings the scoring. He can be the point guard when Luka's not in, and that's important to have when you have a star player. You need someone who can fill the time when he's not in. They have that in Brunson, and now they also have it in Dinwiddie, who, I think if Dinwiddie's in the running, if he's still with the Mavs next year, he'll be in the running for Sixth Man of the Year, because what he's done in his short time as the Mavs sixth man has been huge. And this is a guy who we were discounting this year because he's coming off the Achilles tear with the Nets, gets signed and traded to Washington. He was expected to be their new starting point guard. He had a really, really bad time with the Wizards. There was reports coming out of Washington that his teammates just didn't like him. They didn't like, whether it was an ego problem, he thought he was taking too many shots, whatever it is. But you look at his numbers, he didn't have a good season. And then here's another big part of the Mavericks season that is really important, is the trade of Porzingis for Dinwiddie, and along with Davis Bertans, who another guy who he was terrible with the Wizards, and all of a sudden now he's giving them okay solid minutes in the playoffs. He's starting to make threes again. But you trade Porzingis to the Wizards for these two guys who were on big contracts. They're both on big contracts. This trade, to me at the time, I thought it was a weird trade for the Mavs. I said, if you're going to trade Porzingis, get something for him. You're just trading him for money that's not going to help you. Dinwiddie, why do you Dinwiddie? You have Luka, you have Brunson. Dinwiddie's killed it. He's been, now maybe he's been up and down at times. Defensively, he isn't a killer, especially after the Achilles tear. But some of the scoring games he's had has been huge. And when a Brunson or a Luka might have an off night, having Dinwiddie there has been crucial. And then when you look at the rest of that team, you have your three scoring guards. Obviously, Luka does more of the scoring, but generally speaking, you got your three scoring guards. You have all these glue guys together. Whether it's a Maxi Kleber, another guy who people were doubting because he had a bad regular season. He shot 32% from three. He wasn't looking like the old Maxi Kleber. He has been a menace in the playoffs. He has been knocking down shots left and right. He's shooting over 40% from three. He's become the starting center for the Mavericks again. Well, he actually isn't, but he's playing more minutes than Dwight Powell by a long shot. And Dwight Powell's another one who last year looked a little washed up after I forget it was an ACL or an Achilles tear, but this year he's revamped himself and he's back to being that effective pick and roll big, lob catching kind of big. And although he's not playing as much in the playoffs, during the regular season he was an integral part of this Mavericks team on both sides of the ball. He's been effective. Dorian Finney-Smith continues to get better. He's not quite a Draymond Green in this upcoming Warriors-Mavs matchup, but he can kind of do similar things like that on a much less like Hall of Fame level scale. But Dorian Finney-Smith has turned into a really, really effective 3-and-D wing player for this Mavericks team. The Sixers would kill to have someone like him on the team. He's turned into a valuable asset. And you just go to Reggie Bullock coming over from the Knicks, who's always been a solid wing shooter as well. This whole team is just gelling really, really effectively at the right time. I never saw it coming, but this series with Golden State is going to be really interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how Luka fights back against all the talent Golden State has, because they're going to have Clay, they're going to have Steph, they're going to have Jordan Poole, they're going to have Draymond on defense, they're going to have Draymond creating shots, and even guys like Wiggins will get hot in one game. You'll have Looney, who just had 22 rebounds in a game. I don't know if he'll have that in this series, but I think Looney, for example, is someone that could really exploit a Powell or a Kleber because he plays more down in the post. He's more of a hustle energy crash the boards type guy, where the Mavs bigs aren't necessarily doing that all the time. How does Draymond fit into the equation? Do the Mavs go small with Dorian at center? I don't know if that's something they're looking to do because Kleba especially has played really well, but they might have to do that. It'll be interesting to see how that matchup plays out. Like I said, I think the Warriors will win, but the Mavericks, I just think I wanted to make this video because I think they deserve some shine. They'll get plenty of shine if they make the NBA Finals. They're already getting a lot of shine, but I just thought Suns were kind of the main talking point right now. I've been really interested to see how this Mavericks team has come together with all these guys bouncing back from injuries, bouncing back from rough starts to their season. Jason Kidd bouncing back from a horrific end to his Milwaukee Bucks tenure. It's all come together for this Mavericks team. They've been a highly effective offensive team for some time. They still are, but now they've added the defense into that. And will it be enough to make the NBA Finals? I don't know, but it would be a huge surprise if they do. I think they would be the most surprising finals team maybe since the 11 Mavs, which shows how this Mavericks team comes and goes as a finals contender. But nonetheless, great season for them. We'll see how it ends. I'm excited to see the matchup between Golden State and Dallas.